I was gonna grow up a good little capitalist, believing I had to totally assimilate, totally rape and pillage, take whatever you can from the bounty of is America. And then I walked into Rudy's class. And Rudy said the first day was, you're here to learn two things. You're here to learn their stories, their history, their language, and you're here to learn our history, our stories, our language. And then you gotta be able to tell your grandma and move her. If you can't translate what you learn in here to your community or to your grandma, you didn't learn anything. And I said, wow. So that's how Chicano studies saved my life.
Well, perhaps I can speak a little bit more from the history. 1966, I arrived at what was known as San Fernando Valley State College. And as Rudy says, there was very few of us probably able to sit on a cafeteria table, and that's all that existed on that campus as far as anything for Raza students. But essentially, the most important argument for me was that we were in a public institution. And that public institution should have included something about us and our communities in curriculum in all those majors. Here I was, a sociology major in San Fernando Valley State College, Southern California, preparing to do some kind of social work perhaps in Los Angeles. And I'm not taking any classes or hearing anything about a very significant community that makes up Southern California. And this is our acquaintance with Rudy was for probably about a year or semester that he was coming over in the evenings to meet with some of us, and we started to learn this field of Chicano studies. That's how we got introduced. For no unit credit, we were just hungry for information. And this man came on his own time and shared that information, and we built up a relationship. So after about a year, we knew that person that we wanted to come to that campus to organize something called Chicano Studies. That was the beginning of a 40-some year relationship I've had here with this colleague. That was the importance of that institution that was paid and is still paid by all taxpayers in our state should reflect in that curriculum, our participation, our presence in American society, and it just didn't. And Chicano Studies brought that to that campus, and now it begins to impart to not just Chicano Latino students, but all students, something about Chicanos.
Hi, I'm Professor Roberto Rona Cordova. I'm also in Chicano Studies. And a few days ago, I decided to come to this conference, and my partner Vicente said, "Why are you going?" And I said, "Are you kidding? This is so important." I said, this has been my life for 40 years. I grew up in Chicano Studies, really at UC Berkeley as an undergraduate there, and very involved as an activist. And this has been my life, and it's been my career, gave me a career. And when I was at Berkeley, I was an activist, and I was the chair of the executive committee of Chicano Studies. And in those days, the students hired the faculty. And I can remember we could not find Chicanos with PhDs. And people would say, "God, there's only 3 in the country or 5 in the country." I mean, there just were not. People were in graduate schools at the time, and PhD training programs and other training programs. And so we hired graduate students to teach. And I have to tell you, when I go to Knox, I see all these Chicanos with PhDs, frankly I get really emotional, because I'm just so proud to see how the discipline has grown from where I started and when I started, and to see the scholarship and to see the brains at work, our people. And I'm just so proud to be in this discipline. And in the department I work in, I come from New Mexico. I grew up calling myself Spanish, and when my colega Jerry said that Chicano Studies saved his life, I thought it saved my life also, because I went from calling myself Spanish to changing my identity to being a Chicana and learning what that meant and what that means. And you know, when I hear now that our discipline is being threatened, some of us who have fought to keep it alive are going to keep fighting to keep it alive as long as we're alive.
I'd like to recognize some people individually. I think one of the persons who's really going to go down is one of the heroes in our movement, is Sean Arce back there. He's the coordinator of the Tucson program, and Sean, just wave to them. The other is, and I'm not going to name my real good friends like